Hello again, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome two ambassadors, actually, in our beautiful town, my hometown, which is celebrating its anniversary, 650 years. I greet Kėdainiai once again, and I hope that today it will be interesting for you and informative for you to hear this discussion. As I mentioned, we have two ambassadors. One, our ambassador in Romanian ambassador in Lithuania, Mr. Dinescu, and our former ambassador from Lithuania to Romania, my colleague in Parliament, former head of our army, Mr. Arvydas Pocius. So I think it's really interesting to be here in Kėdainiai and to find what's the relationship between Kėdainiai and Romania. I think Ambassador will tell us. But first I'd like you to tell something about Romania, because you know it's a big country. But a lot of Lithuanians know only that it is somewhere in the southeast Europe, yeah, and that it is big. So that you have the Duke Dracula, yeah. So if you would tell children, youth, a little bit more about Romania.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for inviting me here. For me, it's a pleasure to be in Kėdainiai. It's not the first time, and probably many of you know that Kėdainiai shares a particular connection with Romania, and I will speak about it a little bit later. Yes, indeed, somehow for us as ambassadors of Romania and Lithuania, or even of Lithuania and Romania, this making our countries better known to each other is a challenge. Because as you said, somehow for many Lithuanians, Romania is a country somewhere there in the southeast, with Dracula or without Dracula, maybe some that know football with Steaua Bucharest or not, but not that very well known. While also for many Romanians, Lithuania is somewhere in the north, in the Baltic. Some know that it's a Baltic country. Well, some will say, Lithuania, Latvia, which is exactly the one. So this is a challenge, and it's a pity that our countries are not very well known in each other, since both of our countries have many things to offer. And you will be surprised to find out that during history, for instance, there are some points in common that we had, and we still have, of course, because historical points remain. Yeah. And as we all know, sometimes history follows us with goods and bads in our present. So yeah, Romania is, and also, sorry, one more idea, it's a pity because we are partners in the EU, members of the EU, also partners in NATO, and we do share many approaches, or almost all approaches in the international arena, which are practically the same. But this probably we'll talk about later also with Mr. Pocius. He will approach these things. So some things that you don't know or you should know about Romania. We are a former communist country, indeed. We say da for yes, but we are not a Slav country. We are a Latin, Romance language, and we do share like 77% of our lexic with Italian. So this is one thing. We are one Latin country surrounded by non-Latin peoples. We are one Latin country, the only Latin country with Orthodox Church, which adds to the confusion regarding somehow the real nature of Romania. Another thing which is maybe not very well known, it's somehow guessed or people do have some idea about it, is that Romania and the Republic of Moldova share exactly the same language. It's Romanian, and this is because of history. And I will go to the history because I wanted not to make a long presentation of Romanian history that might be even boring, but to point some things, to share some, let's say, common points that we had in history, as I said, but also some, let's say, differences between Romania and Lithuania. One common thing is that in our history, both Lithuania and Romania had somehow to struggle for their independence. We both are situated in some places where different empires wanted to, well, conquer or rule. You had here the Russians, you had here the Swedes, the Germans. In our area, we had the Russians as well, which is unfortunately a common point. But the Turks and the Hungarians and the Austrians. And the fact that we are situated there somehow shaped the evolution of historical evolution or development of Romania through centuries. Unlike Lithuania, we did not have one common state during our history. Romania has three historical provinces. One is Moldova, but when I say Moldova is a historical Romanian province, I don't refer to the current state Republic of Moldova. The current state Republic of Moldova is just a part of the historical province called Moldova. Then Wallachia, which in Romanian we call like the Romanian country, which is the southern part of Romania, where the capital is, and Transylvania, where from Dracula is supposed to have come. And I will tell you about Dracula a little bit more. And those two countries, Transylvania was conquered very early by Hungary, and then it shared the fate of Hungary, either as an autonomous or an integral part of Hungary, or as a part of Austria, when Hungary itself was a part of Austria, or occupied by the Turks, when Hungary itself was occupied by the Turks, and then in the last, let's say, 100 years or less than 100 years of the Austrian-Hungarian monarchy as integral part of Hungary in the Austrian-Hungarian monarchy. But the other two, Moldova and Wallachia, and this is a common thing that is shared with Lithuania, kept their statehood during history. They were established as independent states in the 13th, 14th century, and even though they were under the suzerainty of the Turks, they kept their statehood, they kept their internal organization, they kept the rulers, the parliaments, well, what it's kind of a parliament in those times, also the church. By the way, for instance, Turks, there were treaties with both of those Romanian states in which Turks could not build, according to which Turks could not build any church or any other, place of worship in Romania, in the Romanian states. In Lithuania also, it maintained its statehood as a Grand Duchy and then as part of the Commonwealth of Poland until, well, the Russian, the partition of common state Poland and Lithuania between Russia, Germany and Austria. We kept our statehood until, let's say, the independence. But the difference is that we were two small states under the suzerainty of Turks, which explains many Turkish words that we have in our language and many Greek words that we have in our language, because starting with the 18th century, Turks somehow imposed rulers from the Greek minority in Istanbul, in Fanar. This is the so-called Fanariot rulers, and this also explains why the Romanian states were the place where the Greek movement of independence started, because these Greek rulers of Moldova and Wallachia were also involved in the Renaissance movement of Greece. So, what else is in common? We were neighbors, even though many people say that we are countries that are somehow far. Yeah, when the Grand Duchy of Lithuania reached the Black Sea, it bordered Moldova. So we're neighbors, but I don't remember, when Mr. Pocius should correct me, whether we had wars between us or not. Well, yes, something like that.
But not a war.
We're neighbors, and this means that we should know each other better, and we should think of us not as countries that are separated by many kilometers, but that countries that are united not only by the common values that we have now as members of the EU, but also of a shared history. What else do we have in common? Well, Kėdainiai, we have it in common, since you know that the daughter of a prince of Moldova married here with the noble Radvila, and the legacy is still present. That's why we cooperate very well, and we organize every year this competition in which young people from that high school write about Romania or about Lithuania and the relations with Romania and any other subject, and the 6 of them went to Romania this year as a prize. But it's not the only thing. We have also near Rokiškis, there is a castle where the daughter of one of our famous politicians and also writers, Titu Maiorescu, lived. And that castle, Isenberg, is a place which was built by a local noble for her. And it is still seen now as a symbol of our relation, and every year we organize a concert there, well, to remember the relation that we have. So many things that maybe people do not know and are in common. Also, I would like to add that the end of the First World War was for both of us the start of, let's say, rebirth of, well, nationhood. You reestablish your statehood, and for us, 1918 was the year when the reunification of all territories inhabited by Romanians happened. Count Dracula, you mentioned, is very strange because, you know, until I was, well, 14, I think, so until the fall of communism, I have never heard of Dracula. In Romania, we never knew about Dracula until we had access to the novel, which was written by an Irish or Scots, Bram Stoker. This novel is supposed to be based on some historical facts. What we did have is a prince which is called Vlad Țepeș, Vlad the Impaler, because it was a common punishment in those times to punish the enemies by impaling them with a stick. It was commonly done in that part of Europe, and he fought Turks several times, so he did punish Turks by doing this. And he was known like Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Țepeș in Romanian. He is the model of the character, and the model of the name of the character, Dracula, is the father of Vlad Țepeș, who is in Romanian Vlad Dracu. Drac means in Romanian devil or dragon. And he had this name not because he was bad or ugly as a devil, but because he had received an award from the German Empire, I think, which was the Order of a Dragon. And he was wearing the award, who had an image of a dragon, and for the Romanians, the dragon was like the devil, probably. And
he was not drinking blood?
No, he was not drinking blood, well, we don't drink blood. But what's very nice is that this story developed completely outside of Romania, and we are not very much aware of it. At least it was not popular in Romania until the fall of communism, when we embraced it for commercial, let's say, and very concrete ways to somehow make some money out of it, you know, because people unfortunately do not know that much about our famous sculptures or famous poets, or some know about our famous sports persons, like Nadia Comaneci was the first gymnast that had a 10 in gymnastics, or I don't know, Ivan Pațaikin, who was the the people who had most medals, Olympic medals in canoe kayak. But well, they know about Dracula very much, so it's kind of nice to invent that we have a castle that belonged to Dracula, or that we had a drink that was supposed to be drunk by Dracula, not only blood, and this kind of stuff. And to me, I think that we don't make use as much as we could of this brand. Yeah.
So we have such an impressive legend tonight.
Yeah. What we have in common, one more thing I will say to you, is the Tatars, because I remember we talk about history. The Tatars in Lithuania that were brought here to contribute to defending the Lithuanian state and are in Trakai and near Vilnius, there is a theory that they came from Romania. Why? The Tatars from Crimea at a certain point left and established themselves, settled the region which borders the Black Sea, which is part of Romania. And it is said that among all those Tatars, they were taken and brought here. What is true is that we really have a very good cooperation now. Last year it was the year of the Tatar in Lithuania, and we initiated a process of cooperation between the Council of National Minorities here and the counterpart in Romania. And we embarked upon some programs in which we want to resurrect the Tatar language here, you know, because, well, in Romania it is kept and survived. So, yeah, these things are interesting. And also one thing, and then I will stop, okay, and I will. I was talking to Rugile, who is my assistant, in the car about Daina. And she told me that daina is any song in Lithuanian, but in school we learned that our song, which is called daina, has the etymological roots related to the Baltic roots of daina. We have some songs which are sad songs and who are sang when you miss somebody, or girls when their loved ones were taken forcibly in the army. They were singing these sad songs which we call daina. So another similarity, daina, daina, well,
very
maybe also less known to people. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Ambassador, for such a short introduction into Romania. How many of you have been to Romania? Can you raise your hands who have been to Romania? Few. Few. Okay, and now I'd like to ask my colleague, Mr. Arvydas, to tell what he knows about Romania. How does he remember Romania? Because, as I mentioned, he's a former ambassador and spent there 5 years. 5 years. So, yeah, Arvydas, how do you remember Romania?
Okay, thank you, Jurgita, first of all, for invitation to be a guest here. Before I arrived to Romania, I met former ambassador of Lithuania to Romania, who spent almost 8 years in Romania, my predecessor, Ambassador Vladimiras Yermolenko, and he presented to me a book about Lithuanian and Romanian relations, which is named From Neighborhood to Partnership. It's in English, very good book, and if you like or would like to find some historical moments which are written in some documents, you can find in this book. Mostly this book was written by Professor Silviu Miloju, who is still friend of Lithuania, and I met him many times, and we organized many events in Romania, and the best memories. And now I would like to move to Romania. So it's happened in 2014 when I finished my military career as a Chief of Defense of Lithuania. And after my retirement, I was how to say, selected to be ambassador.
Accidentally.
Yeah, almost. No, seriously talking, before I retired, I graduated my studies at Vilnius University for a master degree, International Relations and Diplomacy. And I had this diploma, and I kept in shelf for later time when I can use it. And after my retirement as a military, so then I discussed with my former colleagues or with some of our leaders of our country that I would like to continue to serve for my country. And I put on the table this diploma, and I said I would like to be ambassador somewhere in NATO and EU country, not somewhere, to the Eastern countries, because of my previous job. It would be dangerous and difficult for me to go to some countries, post-Soviet countries. Yeah, and it's happened, so I was really happy that I was appointed as ambassador of Lithuania to Romania. And then later, in few months, in addition, I was responsible for Bulgaria, because Lithuania closed in 2014 in spring. They closed the Lithuanian embassy because it was still difficult time for our budget, saving money. And Lithuania wanted to open new embassies in other countries, and decision was such that I will cover in Bulgaria at the same time. So, and when I arrived to Romania, of course, it was a big challenge for me because it was first time to be ambassador. And what I met there, I met excellent colleagues at Ministry of Foreign Affairs who were very friendly. And the second part was that there are living some Lithuanians. And it's a very interesting point, what I wanted to mention, that young people now, when we are members of NATO and European Union, they can go wherever they want. It is different time that my generation, elder generation, we couldn't go to foreign countries without permission of KGB or Soviet security service. So it was difficult. But now what we have, independence, and for you it's normal that you can go. If you want, you're just buying a ticket and you can fly to America, you can fly to Ireland, to Romania, other countries. And now we have approximately 150 Lithuanians, men and women who are living in Romania. But as I remember, very active Lithuanian diaspora or Lithuanian community, which is in Romania. There are approximately 50-70 young people. So it was very friendly, very good period of time to be together with Lithuanian community. And when we celebrated our historical events, 16th of February or 11th of March or some other events. So, of course, we were together with Lithuanian community. And when I invited our colleagues, ambassadors from other countries who were working in Bucharest, of course, we had and our young Lithuanians who represented as well. And little by little, I think this community is really growing. And yeah, this is one point what I wanted to mention. But on the other hand, I loved Romania because it was a new challenge for me. Just sometimes I was going to Romania as a chief of defense. We had meetings with our military colleagues, and we didn't have time to travel as a tourist to see Romania. And being as ambassador there during these 5 years, so I met excellent places, Carpathian Mountains. I learned a lot of history of Romania and neighboring countries. And what I still have in my heart, that Romanians love their songs, national songs, and national dress. And when I saw Romanians when they celebrated some events, mostly they are dressed in national dress and music, and they start not only drink a wine, which is excellent in Romania, but they love to dance and to sing songs. And one of my favorite singers is Leshe, who is very popular, like our Paviljoninė, as you know.
Singer.
Yeah, singer of national songs. It's very popular. And Grigore Leshe is very famous singer in Romania. So, and such memories I am keeping. I love this country, and I really recommend to go. Don't be afraid of Dracula. This is just a legend. And yeah. many castles, many excellent places to go. Bucharest is excellent, renovated. We love to go just in the evening to walk in Bucharest and to meet people, to discuss, sitting together somewhere in the streets, because Romanians are lovely people who like to be together among other people, not like we would say Nordics, because sometimes also weather. But in Romania, mostly is excellent weather, and then people like sit outside, go outdoors, and spend the time either in mountains or somewhere in the cities, and they like to communicate and to be among the people. So such good memories, and later I will switch to another topic, if Jurgita will allow me. Then I will share my experience and then our relations between Lithuania and Romania in the security areas. Okay?
Okay. So thank you, Arvidas, very much. I can ascertain that Bucharest is a really very beautiful city. I've been there 15 years ago, and now it's a big difference when I came this year. So you also should try to discover Romania. Yeah, so I think it is very important to talk about security because we're facing the war, facing the tragedy in Ukraine, and I think that this is except a cultural relationship, this is very important for us to cooperate and to collaborate in security. Talking about borders, as you mentioned, Romania have border with Ukraine. How did Romania felt the war, and how Romania helps to Ukraine to win this war?
First of all, of course, we and Lithuania, like all the countries from the EU and NATO, will completely support Ukraine in this unjustified and unexplainable war. Well, unexplainable. It is probably explainable for Putin, but yeah. We support completely Ukraine's independence, territorial integrity, and we did as much as we could, and we do as much as we can in order to continuously help Ukraine. We are bordering Ukraine. So this means that we are a country which was, crossed, the border was crossed by many, many refugees. We had more than 2 million refugees that crossed into Romania.
2 million.
2 million. Most of them didn't stay in Romania. They continued their journey. Some of them even came here in the Baltic states, in Lithuania. We have a little bit more than 100,000 remaining in Romania. There is a kind of a problem since many of them are children, and there were challenges at the beginning to integrate them into the system of education in Romania. But we are in a more, let's say, fortunate place than some other countries, since we do have a Ukrainian minority in Romania. And according to our legislation, any minority has the right of education in their own language. So we have teachers and also schools prepared for Ukrainian, which were not occupied, because some of them, or maybe even most of the members of the Ukrainian minority in Romania choose to give their children to Romanian schools, so that they speak very well Romanian. So since they were not occupied, we could integrate kids there, and we had teachers for them. This was very important. And also something that was maybe unknown to some, and surely infuriated the Russian embassy in Bucharest, is that the Russian minority in Romania supported very much the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians, the refugees, entered Romania through from three directions. From the north, directly to Romania. From the east, through the Republic of Moldova. And by the way, since the Republic of Moldova is in a very, it's in a more serious situation regarding refugees, taking into account their own problems, we agreed with the Moldovans and the Ukrainians for a free transit. I mean, they were entering in the Republic of Moldova and then just transiting it to reach Romania, and then deciding what to do, whether to stay in Romania or to continue. So this was the second, and the third direction was in the south, because the border with Ukraine...
From Bulgaria?
From Moldavia, I'm not from Ukraine. This is I wanted to tell. If you look, I don't have the map, I'm sorry. So if you look on the map, you will see that we have in two sectors border with Ukraine. In the north, and then we have the border with the Republic of Moldova, and again we have a border with Ukraine. And in this area, which is the Danube Delta, they enter, and in that area, the Russian minority in Romania live. And they were very much welcoming the Ukrainians and supporting them and, hosting them, accommodating them in their houses, which was prompted the Russian embassy to post something on their internet saying that it's unacceptable, of course. So this is something that unites us with Romania and Lithuania, our approach regarding the relation with our eastern neighbor. That comes from history. We all suffered when Russia reached our borders. We are all victims of their imperialistic views, and we do know and we do understand that the war in Ukraine is not the war only of the Ukrainians. It is a war that we all have to somehow, fight, so that we ensure that Ukraine wins and our values and our, let's say, standards, values, and security can
just stop the expansion.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is with the relations with Ukraine. The public opinion in Romania was very favorable, and it still is very favorable to the Ukrainians, and we do not have Russian influence. This is something connected to the fact that we are a Latin country, so Russia is not as a language popular in Romania. It's also difficult for us. And that's why this influence, that might be seen even in Lithuania, and propaganda and fake news and disinformation does not, does not win too much in Romania.
And affect the Romanians.
Exactly.
So thank you very much for your support to Ukraine. And my dear colleague, how do you think how Lithuania should take part facing this war and then to cooperate with Romania, with other NATO countries?
Okay. Maybe before I will speak about nowadays about our cooperation, I would like to share my memories from the beginning when our countries became members of NATO. In 2004, I was lucky to be a student in the United States of America. I studied at U.S. Army War College. As an officer, I studied for security studies at strategic level. And it was exactly time when our countries were invited and membership to NATO was such event organized in White House in Washington. And what I remember from this event when we were there, that maybe 2,000 people were there, mostly elder generation, immigrants from Eastern Europe. And as you remember, in 2004, 7 countries became members of NATO, former Warsaw Pact countries and 3 Baltic countries. So Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Bulgaria, Slovakia, and Slovenia. And immigrants, mostly refugees who after Second World War moved to the West, and they were living in the United States. There were many communities with national flags, and it was so impressive that to me, I looked, and then you understand that what a tragedy was during the Second World War. And when we are talking today about refugees, about the war in Ukraine, And when you are thinking, what we can do for Ukraine, should we help Ukrainians or not? No doubts, we have to. Because the same happened with Lithuanians, Romanians, and others during the Second World War. And our citizens of our countries, they appeared because of in those countries because of their decision. Government decided that yes, we are taking them, and you know that Lithuanian community, Lithuanians are living in many countries of America, in Canada, big community, in United States, even in Latin America, in Colombia and Argentina,
Brazil.
in Brazil, so even in Venezuela. Some people were taken just from ship. They said 100 to Venezuela, 300 to Brazil, 500 to Argentina, and so on and so on. And they couldn't choose. Just you are a refugee, so you want to live safe, and it happened. So and they were survivors. And I remember, in Washington, I remember tears in their eyes when. President of United States, George Bush, announced that new 7 countries today became members of NATO. And, it was so impressive. And I am witness. I have seen those people. They were dreaming. For all these 50 years, they were dreaming about the day when our countries will be safe, secure, and NATO, this is umbrella of security of our countries. And this is big value that we are safe. And today, if not, we were not members of NATO, I am sure that Russia would invade Baltic countries because President of Russia, Putin, he wants to restore Soviet Union. He wants to be like a Stalin II, that he's big ruler, he's a great leader of the country. He wants to do that, but thanks God, we are members of NATO, and for Romania and for Lithuania, this is, as I said, this is a great value, and we have to be active members of NATO. Of course, we are happy being members of European Union, but European Union, this is a union of economics, I would say. It is help. It's value for us that we can move in the European Union, we can work there, we can get a lot of benefits, but security is number one. And now, talking about our cooperation since 2004, what I would like to say that yes, it was just the beginning, and where we met with Romanians as members of NATO, because NATO consists from the armed forces from all members. There is no NATO army or NATO Air Force and so on. So we providing to NATO all some national units. And what I would like to stress today that Romania was one of the countries which provided in 2008 NATO military police mission to Šiauliai. As you know, in Šiauliai we have NATO air policing mission for Baltic countries. So this is a One of the examples, when the Romanian Air Force with the MiG-21, they arrived to Šiauliai Air Force Base, and they were taking care of all 3 Baltic countries. They were securing our sky. So this is an example of cooperation. Of course, other part is that all NATO countries have to provide some troops, some units when NATO is participating in international missions, international operations. And we met with Romanians in Balkans, in Kosovo, in Bosnia, and in some other conflict zones in Iraq, in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, I remember I met Romanians in Kabul, then where our special operation forces were operating in Zabul province. There were Romanian infantry unit and our famous special operation forces, Aitvarai, so-called such units. So such cooperation in war area is very important, and they work together. They work together. Lithuanian soldiers and the Romanian soldiers work together, shoulder to shoulder, and if necessary, they are standing together and as one alliance, and we understand it that all together we are strong. And now, when we talk about the war in Ukraine, I would say that we understand, and not very official some figures, but I know that Romania is one of the biggest providers, that they are giving equipment to Ukrainian armed forces. Some of equipment what we had, Lithuania and then Romania, it was some in the storages old Soviet style weapon systems, such for infantry units, Kalashnikov system rifles, some other, and then some military vehicles were, and they were given to Ukraine, and we are continuing to do that, and I think it's necessary to help. If not, if Ukraine give up, as I said, Russia will not stop there. They will go to Moldova, they will go to Baltic countries, and they will move probably to other European countries to do bad things, what they are doing now in Ukraine. So we need to work together, we have to cooperate, and I think this is our contribution now, and I think understand everyone.
So how should we strengthen this eastern wing of NATO? Both countries were eastern wing. What should we do?
Now, first of all, I think we need to ask our biggest allies, United States. So they are strong, very powerful, and the presence of United States in Romania or in Poland or in Lithuania is very important. It's very important, and this is a message for Russia, that if they come, they will fight not only with Lithuanians or Romanians, but they will fight and with Americans and with other allies. This is a message I think is understandable, and it stops them. What is bad for Ukraine? They are not members of EU, they are not members of NATO, and of course, we can support them, but we cannot go and fight to Ukraine because of NATO agreement. we can fight only in the territory of NATO countries. We can provide our support and troops for NATO countries. And this is a situation when now we can strengthen our eastern NATO flank, starting from Norway up in the north. Good news for us is for Baltic region, I mean, membership of Finland and Sweden. So very soon they become full members of NATO. This is a really good message for our countries, for Baltic countries. And I think that being a neighbor of Lithuania, as a member of these countries, as Belarus and then Kaliningrad region, so for us it's very important to have here Americans. We have here, as you know, German-led battalion, which will be strengthened at brigade level. This is important to have them here. And the same are doing Romanians, as I know. They have as well troops from other NATO countries, and this is a way, being together, we are strong, and we have to continue, and as a politicians, as a diplomats, we have to work in this way. So.
Yeah, if I may add, to add something, first, we share, Romania and Lithuania, together with some other countries in the eastern flank of NATO, we share responsibility which for years somehow was not successful, and it was very unfortunate that it was not successful. We have to show our partners and to continue showing our partners in NATO, and most of them are also partners in the EU, that our assessment regarding Russia is correct. Because our assessment regarding Russia was always in terms of the fact that Russia is unpredictable and aggressive, and it never lost this way of, behavior. While some other partners, unfortunately, were not that convinced about it. And it's our task that we continue to have this very high on our agenda. Because otherwise, all that was done during these months of conflict somehow might be lost, We have the determination that everybody supports Ukraine now. And we have NATO, and we also military support. We also have the common action at the level of the EU. But at the same time, the more that the conflict drags on, the more that the probability that in some countries, internal problems, somehow associated with the conflict, and somehow artificially associated with the conflict through a very smart Russian propaganda, become more and more important. And then some governments might not be, in the very, I will put it differently. They might find themselves in a difficult position internally. So it is very important that we cooperate like-minded countries to continue showing and making everybody understand that Russia is not going to stop. That Russia, we could not have business as usual again with Russia, let's say in a few months or something like that. This war showed the real nature of Russia's approach on the international arena. Which we knew about it, which we tried to explain, but we were not so much convincing. And we have to continue this. This is one thing. And the second thing that I wanted to add, when we speak of the eastern flank of NATO, in terms of security, it is very important now that we saw the strategic importance of the Black Sea. So we have the Baltic Sea, which everybody knew that it is a place of, let's say, provocation. We have Kaliningrad, we have, Russia directly accessing the Baltic Sea, two countries that were neutral, Suwalki corridor, so a very delicate position of the Baltic states, while the Black Sea was somehow considered not as, problematic. Now we see that the strategic importance of the Black Sea is very important. Importance is important. It's very telling in such circumstances. We see what happened. We see how Russia completely isolated Ukraine, not militarily, but also regarding, let's say, cereal exports and this kind of stuff. And it's somehow a good thing that went out of this very bad thing, that we as NATO members, all of us realize that there is a continuing eastern flank from the north to the south, and it has to be, given the same importance. We have the American forces, the Germans here in Romania, the French are the leading nation. By the way,
you also want to have the brigade?
Yeah, exactly. And Mr. Pocius mentioned our contribution to the air policing here. Next year will come again in Shaoyai. It will not be MiG-21, it will be F-16. So we changed some things. In the meantime, well, good for all of us, in fact. And we really think that what's going on now has to stop with the defeat of Russia, not with any other modus vivendi that might prolong the conflict and not lead to any real solution. Because, well, if there is no defeat of Russia, or let's put it differently, win of Ukraine, then it will continue, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really very happy that we have the same insights on our security and the same understanding of necessity to cooperate and to take part in NATO and be more secure.
I would like to just point out the moment that the war in Ukraine started not in this year, 24th of February. The war started in 2014. When Russia annexed Crimea Peninsula and Donbas area, eastern part of Ukraine. And at this time, I was still in my position as a chief of defense from February until July 2014. It was really scary time and dangerous time. Yeah, we were, let's say, a bit afraid that we didn't know what will happen, but when I arrived in the fall in October to Romania, I felt the same. Romanians were afraid because they had a neighborhood with Ukraine, and of course very close in the Black Sea, very close Crimea, and what happened? When Crimea belonged to Ukraine, the border, sea border, was one. And then when Russians came there, so it was very difficult because Russian military ships were there, Russian Black Sea Fleet and the Air Force were operating there, and for Romania it was really scary period of time. And there was next year, I remember, were held in Constanța International Black Sea Security Forum. Many from NATO countries, experts, generals were coming, politicians, to talk about security, what we were doing here in Lithuania, excuse me, inviting politicians and leaders from all the world, from NATO countries, and we were discussing how to defend the Baltic region. The same Romanians were doing, and talking about Black Sea security, about this region, how they can be sure that Russia will not invade Romania. So and Moldova, of course. And there were many very interesting lectures, and professors were coming, and generals, and it was very good, very well organized discussions and conferences in Constanța. So yeah, good memories, very important, but again, needs to stress that good to be a member of NATO.
Yeah, it's really very important. I know you are getting tired, and it was very interesting for me to know how much in common we have, Lithuania and Romania. I suggest you to not to leave now and to continue to have some tea or coffee, and maybe you will ask some private questions to our ambassadors. And Candice, yeah, it's very important. Not only tea and coffee, but also Candice from Lithuanian Parliament. So I thanks once again, Ambassador, Mr. Arvidas, and let's continue then with tea and coffee.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's really, as I told you, I was very happy to be here, and well, I encourage all of you to try discover more about Romania. It seems maybe a little bit far, but as you saw, it's not that far. So when I can tell you that when I was on vacation last month, I saw many cars with Lithuanian plates. So this means that people go there. You should come. Thank you.